He used to say I was the most loyal man he'd ever worked with. Said it in front of the board, in front of my team. He shook my hand at his promotion party and told me I was the reason he got there. I believed him. For 14 years, I worked the numbers clean, honest tight, quarter after quarter, audit after audit. No red flags, no surprises, just truth. But truth doesn't always look good on paper. So when the board asked for growth, he came to me with a smile, said, "Let's just smooth the edges. Nothing big. You know how this works." I said no. He said, "Then maybe you're not a team player anymore." 3 hours later, I was demoted. No warning, no hearing, just a folder and a pat on the back. I walked past the desk I trained him at. He didn't look up. I boxed my things, my mug, a photo of my wife, the cactus my daughter gave me on my birthday, and I sat down in the corner cubicle, next to the printer, next to the damn water cooler. That day, he thought he won. He thought I'd stay quiet, take the hit, move on. He forgot who taught him the rules. He forgot who built the system he just tried to cheat. And most of all, he forgot what happens when you betray a man who has nothing left to lose but everything recorded. He wasn't just my boss, he was my protege. Rick Dalton started at Pacific North as a junior controller back when I was already 10 years in. Bright guy, ambitious, sharp with numbers, sharper with charm. He asked questions no one else asked. Stayed late when everyone clocked out. The kind of employee every department fights to keep. And I mentored him, taught him how to survive board meetings, how to walk that fine line between what's legal and what's ethical. When our CFO retired, I was the one who told the board, "Give Rick a shot. He's ready." They listened. He got the corner office, the salary bump, the credit, and he came to my desk that day, shook my hand like a brother, and said, "I won't forget this, ever." Funny thing is, he didn't forget. 6 months later, he just changed. The tone of his emails, the way he closed his office door during calls, how he started calling our reports narratives instead of statements. I told myself he was under pressure, new role, big expectations, but deep down, I knew something was off. Still, I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I believed in him, because I thought loyalty meant something. Turns out, he believed in numbers more than people, and he'd soon show me exactly how much my loyalty was worth in his version of the budget. It started small, a meeting here, a question there. "Ethan, do you think we're being too conservative with revenue recognition? Could we maybe shift some overhead to Q2 just for optics?" At first I thought he was testing ideas. New CFO, new eyes. Nothing illegal, just different. But the questions kept coming. Every Monday, tighter, sharper, more loaded. What if we stretch depreciation to 5 years instead of 3? Are we capitalizing enough? Let's not miss future value. By the end of the quarter, he didn't ask anymore. He instructed, "Make the numbers work, Ethan. 12% growth, non-negotiable." I told him the market was tightening, that maintaining flat revenue was already a win. He just smiled. "The board wants growth. Give it to them." Then came the hints. A slide change before a presentation. A footnote rewritten. One expense reclassified as consulting. Individually, nothing alarming. Collectively, a pattern I recognized. I'd seen it in case studies, in court transcripts, in news stories about companies who thought they were too clever to get caught. Death by 1,000 edits, each one small, justified, until the whole report was a lie dressed up in footnotes. And every time I raised a concern, he'd say the same thing. "Don't worry, everyone does it. This is how the game is played." But I didn't sign up to play games. Not with other people's money, not with my name on the reports. At home, I started bringing work with me. Not spreadsheets, just the weight of them. Laura noticed first. "You barely touched your dinner." "Everything okay at the office?" I told her what I always tell her, just busy, but she knew better. She always does. My daughter Ava called the next night. She was in her second year of college, majoring in accounting, just like I did. "Dad, I'm doing a class on ethics and financial reporting. Thought of you. You always said integrity mattered more than bonuses." I froze, not because she was wrong, but because I couldn't answer her without choking on my own hypocrisy. That night I sat in the living room, lights off, TV on mute, watching numbers dance across my head like ghosts I couldn't bury. What kind of example was I setting? What kind of man was I becoming? I thought about Ava's tuition, The pension I'd spent years building, the health benefits Laura depended on, all tied to this job, to this company, to that man upstairs editing ethics like line items. But I also thought about something else. The 27 people in our department whose names were on those reports too. People who trusted me, who believed that if I signed off, it meant something was true. I had every reason to stay silent, every justification to look the other way. But silence was starting to sound like complicity. By Q3, Rick stopped asking. He started telling. Ethan changed line 24, pushed those labor costs under external services, capitalized the equipment rental. It's long-term value, isn't it? He didn't blink, didn't lower his voice, didn't hide it anymore. He just assumed I'd follow orders, because I always had. But this wasn't strategy, it wasn't optimization, it was fiction. And the more I pushed back, the more creative he got. Look, I don't need a lecture. I need the numbers. We're a public company. Perception drives valuation. Play the game. He referenced competitors, how they reported cost savings margin, jumps, efficiency gains, said we were falling behind. Then he pointed at the whiteboard, showed me a forecast with numbers that didn't exist. This is what the board expects. Make the reports match the vision. Match the vision. That's what he called it. He started skipping our review meetings, sending numbers through assistants, replacing my analysis with data from his strategy team. They weren't analysts. They were decorators, polishing financial fiction until it shined. I raised concerns quietly. Internal emails, documented discrepancies, all ignored. The worst part, he knew I saw it all, and he dared me to say something. Every email was a test, every adjustment a line in the sand, and every day, he pushed it closer to the edge. I didn't argue, not out loud. Instead, I started printing things. Not just the final reports, but drafts, email chains, calendar invites, footnotes that changed after 10 p.m. Every time he adjusted something, I saved both versions. Labeled, dated, backed up. Then I bought an encrypted drive, kept it in the glove compartment of my car underneath a pack of gum and a broken flashlight. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was planning protection. Because deep down I knew where this was headed. And I knew what happened to people who tried to fight corruption without receipts. I didn't tell anyone, not even Laura. Especially not Laura. She still thought I was tired from the workload. I let her believe that. I needed space to think, to prepare. Because if I was going to stand against this, I had to be methodical. Not emotional, not reckless. Quiet. That's the part people forget. Revenge isn't rage. It's patience, precision, discipline. And I had 14 years of watching every decimal point to sharpen all three. He thought he could rewrite the rules. I was going to show him I remembered where they were buried. It happened on a Wednesday. Sandra from HR tapped on my cubicle wall, soft, hesitant. Rick wants to see you in conference room B. No calendar invite, no warning. Just now. I walked in. Rick was already seated. Next to him, Linda, the head of HR. Her expression, professional. Blank, practiced. Rick didn't even look up from his tablet. Ethan, we've been reviewing your recent performance. Concerns have been raised about your ability to collaborate, adapt, and deliver under pressure. My stomach tightened. I knew this play. He wasn't firing me, not yet. That would look bad on paper. Instead, he slid a folder across the table. Inside a new job title, Accounts Payable Associate, 25% pay cut, loss of access to all financial systems, no team, no reports, no voice. I glanced at Rick. He finally looked up. This isn't a punishment, he said. Just a realignment. We need team players right now. I didn't argue, didn't flinch. I closed the folder, nodded, and said, understood. Then I stood, shook both their hands, and walked out of that room without giving him the satisfaction of seeing me break. Because I wasn't broken, not yet. I was just being repositioned, like a knight on a chessboard. He moved me to the back row thinking I was out of play. What he didn't see was that I just gained the perfect angle for a clean shot. My new desk was in the back corner of the office. No window, no privacy. Right between the printer and the water cooler. Trevor, my new supervisor, was 28. Nice kid, nervous eyes. He didn't know what to say when I introduced myself. I made it easy for him. Just point me to the invoices, kid. I know the drill. I'd done this work 14 years ago. I could do it in my sleep. And maybe that's why Rick put me there, because he thought it would humiliate me, thought it would crush whatever pride I had left. But what it really did was give me space. No meetings, no oversight, no noise, just silence and time. I used it well. Every break I walked to the library downtown, same one I used when studying for my CPA. I pulled old case files, SEC reports, whistleblower protections, Enron, WorldCom, Tyco. I built a checklist not just for fraud, but for patterns. And Rick, he was hitting every single one. Meanwhile, I kept smiling, kept printing invoices, kept saying no problem like a good soldier. But behind that smile, I was mapping the entire battlefield. He thought I was isolated. He thought he'd buried me. But what he forgot was that roots grow best when they're underground. Her name was Anna Walsh, partner at Roth and Mendel Audits, serious, precise, built her career tearing holes in financial illusions. But to me, she was something more. 10 years ago, she ran my first audit at Pacific North, tore through my numbers like a surgeon, but when she was done, she shook my hand and said, "Honest numbers speak louder than polished lies." I never forgot that, and now I needed her to remember me. I found her email through an old audit file, typed slowly, deleted 3 versions before I hit send. Subject off the record. Message: Anna, this is Ethan Miller. You audited us in 2014 and 2018. Something's wrong. I'd like to meet before the next cycle starts. Just coffee. I'll explain. She replied 2 hours later, Friday, 9 a.m. same cafe near Monroe. Booth by the window. I showed up early. Black coffee. No cream. No sugar. Hands folded on the table like I was back in confession. She arrived 5 minutes early. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. Same no-nonsense stride. You look tired, she said. You're about to find out why, I answered. And then I told her. Not everything. Not yet. But enough. Enough to make her sit back, cross her arms, and say, "You've got documentation." I nodded. Then we've got a problem worth solving. The audit was scheduled for the following Monday. Rick strutted through the office like a man untouchable. Pressed suit, too much cologne, greeting the staff with fake charm and shallow confidence. "This one's going to be clean," he said. "Let's show them how efficient we've become." I watched from the corner cubicle. Didn't say a word. Didn't need to. Because Anna was watching now too. She'd pulled records under the radar invoice patterns, asset depreciation logs emails, with adjustments quietly timestamped after midnight. Meanwhile, Rick kept posing. PowerPoint slides, investor decks, graphs that curved upward like fairy tales. He had no idea the story was already unraveling. He held meetings behind closed doors, rehearsed statements with the strategy team, instructed interns to sanitize draft versions. But here's the thing about paper trails: they don't vanish. They multiply. Every change, every reclassification, every timing decision. It was all there. And Anna, she didn't blink. Her team began pulling prep files early, asking quiet questions, cross-checking systems Rick thought no one would bother with. I saw the tension building in Rick's jaw, in his tone and how he triple-checked his laptop password every morning. He knew the audit was close. He just didn't know it was already inside the walls. The trap was set, the pieces aligned. He thought he was leading a parade, but Monday, he was walking straight into a firing squad. Tuesday morning, 10:04 a.m. Trevor walked over, face pale, voice low. "Ethan, the auditors want to see you. Conference room A." I stood up slowly, straightened my tie, grabbed the folder I'd hidden in the back of my drawer. Inside drafts, source data, proof. Anna sat at the head of the table. 2 of her senior auditors flanked her laptops open. Across the glass wall, I saw Rick pacing in his office, oblivious. "Ethan," she began, "we're seeing inconsistencies between the submitted reports and internal drafts." She slid 2 printouts across the table. Left my original. Write Rick's version. Line 24, manufacturing efficiency plus 8% my report, 2%. Line 37, consulting expenses tripled, disguised overtime. Line 49, equipment maintenance, deferred to Q1, never disclosed.
"Did you authorize these changes?" Anna asked.
I looked her in the eye. No.
"Did you agree with them?"
Absolutely not. Can you verify your numbers? I opened my folder, laid out every supporting document, invoices, production logs, staff schedules, email approvals, every line traced, every adjustment documented. The room was silent except for the clicking of keys. Then Anna nodded, calm, controlled, cold. We'll need a formal statement, today. You'll have it by noon, I said. As I left the room, I caught Rick's eyes through the glass. He smiled, but his eyes didn't. He knew. And for the first time, he realized I hadn't just survived. I'd drawn my sword. Thursday morning, an unmarked sedan pulled into the parking lot. Two men stepped out. Dark suits, no badges visible. One carried a hard case. The other, a sealed envelope. They walked straight past reception, straight past HR, into Anna's audit room. 10 minutes later, Rick's office door closed. It didn't reopen for an hour. Word spread fast, but not fast enough for him to contain it. By noon, it was instructed to disable Rick's admin access. By 1:15, security walked him out the side entrance. No handshakes, no farewell, just silence, and the click of the glass door behind him. That afternoon, Anna called me back into the room, but this time there were two new faces at the table. SEC investigators, one male, one female. Quiet, methodical, unshakable. Mr. Miller, we understand you've been cooperating in good faith, the woman said. We're initiating a formal investigation into Pacific North's Q3 filings. We need your documentation. All of it. I handed over the encrypted drive. Everything's there. Nothing withheld. She took it with both hands. Nodded once. You may be eligible for federal whistleblower protection. You'll be contacted by legal counsel within 48 hours. Do I need a lawyer? I asked. If you were guilty, yes, she said. But you're not. You did the right thing. That was the first time I exhaled in days. Because now, it wasn't just my word against his ambition. Now the government was watching, and the wolves were no longer outside the building. 3 weeks later, I got called into a boardroom, but not the kind with accusations. This one had coffee, bottled water, and the head of the audit committee at the table. Ethan, thank you for coming in, she said. We're restructuring, effective immediately. Rick officially terminated for cause. The board issued a public statement. SEC cooperation confirmed. No criminal charges yet, but the damage was done. His name burned. We need someone who understands both the numbers and the consequences, she continued. Someone who doesn't flinch when integrity is on the line. Then she slid a folder across the table. Second time in a month I'd been handed one, but this one felt different. Controller Pacific North Systems base salary upgraded. Bonuses tied to compliance and accuracy, not optics. Full autonomy over internal audit processes. We believe you're the right person, she said. If you'll take it. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked out the window. Same skyline, same office, but everything felt clean again. I thought of Laura, of Ava, of the night I sat in the dark, questioning everything. Then I looked her in the eye and said, if we're doing this right, I'm in. We shook hands. And in that moment, I wasn't just back. I was in charge of making sure this never happened again. Rick disappeared from the industry. Word spreads fast in finance, faster than money, slower than shame. Last I heard, he'd taken a role at a mid-sized logistics firm in Arizona. Private company, no public filings, no investors to fool. Just spreadsheets and silence. But it wasn't victory I felt. Not really. Because winning in this kind of war comes with scars. I'd lost time, sleep, trust in people I once admired. I still walk past my old cubicle some days. Still saw the empty coffee cup I never threw away. Still remembered what it felt like to be treated like nothing for standing up for everything. And sometimes I wondered, if Rick had just said, you're right, let's fix this, would any of it have happened? But the truth, he never would have. Because people like Rick don't bend. They break. And when they do, they try to take everything with them. What mattered most wasn't that I exposed him. It was that I stayed whole. Because in a world where numbers are twisted, narratives spun, truth buried, the only thing that keeps you grounded is the choice to stay clean when dirt's the easier path. And I made that choice every day, even now. 2 months after the dust settled, Laura and I drove up to Cape Cod. No laptops, no work emails, just ocean sand and silence. Ava ran down the shoreline chasing gulls, her laughter louder than the wind. I hadn't heard that sound in weeks. Laura placed her hand on mine as we sat on the porch. "You didn't lose yourself," she said quietly. "That's what scared me the most, that they'd break you." I didn't answer, just looked at her, because I had no words that matched the weight of that moment. We ate simple meals, slept in late, let the tide wash away everything we'd carried for months. And in that calm, I realized something. Revenge wasn't what healed me. Justice didn't bring peace. Survival did. And choosing to stay honest, even when it nearly cost everything. One evening, Ava climbed onto my lap, looked up with those curious eyes, and asked, "Daddy, what do you do at work now?" I smiled. "I make sure people tell the truth." She nodded like it made perfect sense. Maybe one day she'll understand the weight of that sentence. But for now, watching the sun dip behind the water with their hands in mine, it was enough. People think ethics is about big decisions. It's not. It's 100 small choices no one ever sees. Where you file the number, how you label the expense, what you say when no one's listening. Rick didn't become corrupt overnight. He corroded inch by inch, and I could have gone with him. I had every reason to. Mortgage, health insurance, a kid in college. But the truth is simple. Integrity isn't a feeling. It's a practice. It's what you do when power threatens consequence, what you protect when silence is safer. And if you give it up once, even just once, you'll keep giving it up until there's nothing left but a title on your desk and a lie in your ledger. That's not a life. That's a transaction. So if you're ever sitting across from someone who asks you to bend the numbers to make it look prettier, to just be a team player, ask yourself one question. When this burns down, will your name be clean? Because justice, it doesn't always come in handcuffs. Sometimes it comes in audits, in exits, in silence. And sometimes it just comes when the truth shows up and doesn't flinch.